Welcome to Creative Human, where we have deep dive conversations with creative professionals on how to ascend and how to adapt in a changing world. I'm your host, Tom Martin. Today's guest is, shall we say, well-timed. 2 days after the Super Bowl was played on her home turf, 49ers senior producer Sarina Soriano joins the show. Sarina is not just a critical member of the Niners team, she's also a freelance DP, editor, and athlete marketer. Not to mention she puts a lot of effort and time into growing her own channels and really influencing others as a brand ambassador in the creative space. The only thing that exceeds Sarina's quality of her work is her work ethic. She puts in a ton of time, not just for the Niners, which she holds near and dear, now having been there 10 years, but she also puts a lot of time into supporting other athletes as a DP and editor. And then, of course, there's the channel management of her own channels. Sarina is definitely at a point where the amount of work she's bringing in for herself is attractive, lucrative, but the Niners are obviously such a key part of her life. She's grown up in San Jose. She has been with them for such a long time and grown with them, and she does so much amazing work for them. What happens next? Sarina was kind enough to unpack where she's been, where she's thinking of going, and most importantly, the roots behind the passion she puts into her work, which is evident if you watch it. I hope you enjoy the conversation with Sarina. Sarina Soriano, senior producer for the San Francisco 49ers, 7-time Emmy winner. Your resume and like all the cool things you do, we could probably spend 10 minutes on. So first of all, I'm just so glad you're here. I'm really excited to chat with you. I think you've been an inspiration for a lot of people. And at the same time, I also think your work is just so good that that inspiration travels a lot of different places. And I'm just really excited to talk with you about how you've gotten where you are, what you're thinking about comes next, all those kinds of things. But first and foremost, we always start with this extremely broad question, but it's kind of fun to see where people take it, which is, Sarina, what do you think makes you a creative human?
First of all, thank you so much for having me. I mean, this is such an incredible space, an honor to be able to speak with you. I feel like I need to hire you now to intro me, going forward, because that was so nice. So I really appreciate those kind words. Thank you so much. What makes me a creative human? I feel like being a creative human, creativity isn't everyone, to be honest, whether you're working in finance, partnerships, sales, 49er Studios, me specifically, but it's honoring what makes us feel something as opposed to just analytics and results driven, I think. So for me, anytime that I get to inspire through my art, my tagline, honestly, that I use a lot, and it's something that helps me drive my art forward, is capturing the beauty and the resiliency of the human spirit. I think from there and the art that I make, that's what makes me a creative human.
Where did you discover that you had an ability to tap into that way of thinking about it? Where did that first start?
I think my joy from capturing just everybody loves an underdog, to be honest, and maybe I have a chip on my shoulder. I'm kind of one too. I'm from Eastside San Jose. I think a lot of people where I'm from don't really get to make it on NFL sidelines. Women in general holding cinema cameras, there wasn't anyone that was doing that. Who were minority women that I could see. I definitely had to be someone that had to pave my own way and try to figure it out. But yeah.
Do you feel like you figured it out?
You know what? I'm always someone that feels like when I enter a room, I never like to say that, that I'm the smartest or most creative or that I've even arrived. I'm constantly learning. And I think it's because of my constant want to grow as a creative, as a person, is what has helped shape me as the person I am today, but also the creative that I continue aspiring to be.
If you could just kind of give folks a snapshot of like what a day in your life looks like or a week in your life looks like, and maybe framed within what a day during a 49ers regular season looks like. I'm sure it's much different than talking in June.
Yeah, so for me, I have a little bit of a hybrid position in regards to my professional workspace. But yes, I am a senior producer for the 49ers, but I'm also a freelance DP, director, editor, content creator, and I always think that I wish that I had more like hours in the day because I feel like I'm an insanely busy person. But I love it as well. So, for example, like a day where I'm doing content creation, I'm getting up between like the hours of 6 to 9 and I'm ideating, I'm scheduling, I'm sending out emails to brands or working with agents and their partners. And then I show up at work, on a regular day from 9 to 6:37 if we're during the season and we're pumping out content for the 49ers team in general, but also like on the marketing side, working with foundation and EDU and CR. So truly, on the 49ers side, we are the people that drive and market the corporation and the team. And then I go home and I edit more of my personal content, or I'm reaching out to more people and scheduling that. So I somehow try to find at least 30 minutes a day to work out as well. But I would say I'm pretty booked right now.
Do you like the rhythm you're in? Because like you say, there's only so many hours in the day. It,
Hmm.
it is what you're living out right now with the brand partnerships, the team success, the strong bonds you have with the team, and you grew up a 49ers fan, right? So to be able to be at this organization of all organizations, um, do you love where you're at, or are you someone who's like, but wait, there's something more, there's something else I could be doing?
I'm someone that absolutely loves variety, to be honest. I feel like I thrive in chaos. But I make art in this chaos, and I feel like that's like a challenge in itself. So right now I
Yeah.
constantly feel challenged, so I know that I'm in a good place. I come from generations of 49er football fans. So my grandpa, my dad, it's so funny. I grew up loving soccer, but like to connect with my dad, like on Sundays when I wasn't, playing at soccer tournaments, we were all together watching 49ers football. So for me to be able to represent this team, to be able to capture the history for almost a decade now, I can say, which is insane, means so much to me, but also to my family. And when I can give back to my parents for all the hard work and what they did to set me up for success, that brings me so much joy. And I've been able to bring my grandparents to games. I've been able to bring my mom and dad and my brother to both Super Bowls that we've been a part of. And those are just memories that like I'll always cherish forever. And I just feel so blessed and lucky to say that I make art for the 49ers in English and Spanish, to be honest.
Going back to when you were maybe middle school, maybe high school, if you would have said, hey, by the way, I'm Sarina from the future and I'm going to be doing this and this is my life, what would you have said back then?
Um, Man, it's so funny because back in middle school, high school, like I was making like iMovie videos of my brother and my cousins dancing to Kesha. And just to be able to
Shout out
say,
Kesha, by the way. Yes.
Kesha, um, I think little Serena would freak out if I ever was like I got flown out to DP a project for Solomon in the French Alps. I was on red carpets with George and Claire Kittle, Kyle Juszczyk, Kristen Juszczyk. I was able to capture an F1 event in Miami. I was able to capture Super Bowls and be the only Latina woman for a second, on the team side, filming with a cinema camera, 49ers football. I think she would be like, I can't even fathom that. But I do hope that now when people see my art and my platform, that I could be that inspiration that I wish I had growing up and they know that, hey, you can do this because I did.
I love that. And I'm so curious, so you go and you play college soccer, and I'm sure
Yeah.
there's just so much focus around that. Being a college athlete is just, it's a whole thing, right? So
Yes.
you're then moving on, and what comes next after college soccer? Take me back to that point and tell me kind of how you wound up getting to the 49ers. What happened in between, and what were your kind of mindsets like at the time?
I feel like there's so many athletes that work in the sports industry. I feel like in a way when your season ends when you're a senior in college, it almost feels like wow, a part of you is for lack of a better word, like dying. That chapter has ended unless obviously you have the talent to go professionally. But I do think that there's a direct correlation between women who play sports and making it in the sports industry. So it feels like I'm meant for this. I absolutely love the high pacedness of the sports industry. I love, like I said, the chaos of it all, of also doing my DP and freelance work on the side. Right after college, I was accepted by the 49ers as the Denise DeBartolo York Fellow. And it was a position that put women who had just graduated in 6 departments where we were underrepresented. So during that 1 year rotation, I was in 49er Studios, partnership, sales, finance, business development. But I know deep down in my heart, I went to school for communication, sports journalism, Spanish, that I knew I wanted to be in 49er Studios. So I was in these departments for 3 months at a time. I think it's a really unique position that they still offer women to this day at this company, which is so cool. You really learn the ins and outs, and you work directly with directors, senior directors, and you kind of get a feel for all of these cogs make this incredible powerhouse machine that the San Francisco 49ers is. And after that year rotation, I was very blessed to have proven myself to get promoted and get a full-time position as an associate producer. From there, I was a producer, and from now, my title now is senior producer. And I've been able to really grow on the English side, but also really spearhead our Spanish language video programming. So at 21, I was tasked with building a Spanish radio team. I had no idea what I was doing. It was 2016 too, so Instagram wasn't what it is today in regards to like, hey, I'm looking for a broadcaster, a play-by-play, a commentator, a spotter. Didn't even know what that was. And oh, I have to also build out all the commercials. Oh, and pitch it to our partnership team, who is selling even more assets. But I was able to get that off the ground running with the help of my senior leaders at the time. I started to pump out as much as I could Spanish content, and now today we have this whole international team, which is so great. We're the fastest growing Spanish channel throughout the NFL. Several of my Emmys are from Spanish content in general. I've been able to, which I'm most proud of, connect and build people that look like me, and bring them to this industry and have them make an impact themselves. So it's been a crazy journey with the San Francisco 49ers, and I'm just blessed that people saw something in me and let me run with that.
When you got the associate producer job, and when you started kind of taking that first step into a creative space after moving around different departments, and that fellowship is so cool, by the way, just exposure to things can do so much,
Right.
even just a little bit.
100%, especially for young women.
Yeah, you mentioned it. You didn't have someone you could point to and say, oh, I want to be like them. They embody what I look like, who I am. How did you start to develop the confidence to then say, eventually, I could be that for someone else because I don't have that person to look to yet? How did that come to be from a hope to reality in your mind?
So I think when you're first starting out, and I had this question asked to me recently, when you're first starting out, I thought, and it is true, that I needed to prove myself, that I deserved a seat at the table. So I'm always someone, even just as a sports, an ex-athlete, it's like my work is going to speak for itself. What you see on the field, like that's going to speak louder than whatever else I can say. So I was surrounded, by these 6 foot men. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to be in the gym. I'm going to hold this 35-pound camera on my shoulder for the whole game. You're not going to hear a peep from me. I'm going to be running here, working with athletes. I have to do this. And my mom always taught me too, just as a minority woman, that you technically have to work twice as hard as your male counterparts. So that thought process was drilled in me as a young woman as well. But it honestly helped me to, maybe at the time, fake confidence. But the more that I was succeeding and being happy with my own projects is when I realized that it wasn't fake confidence, that this confidence was earned because of my output and what I was doing. And not even just the output itself, but just the mentality too, and trying to help young women and men be like, wow, like Sarina's doing this, I can do this too. So it definitely took time. And later now in my decade of working here, I've realized that I've kind of started to create my own table, and everyone's invited to it. And I think that's just so special about working here in such a diverse workplace, because you don't get that, in other places in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm curious, after you start to feel like you not only belong, but like you can do really special things. Whenever you started to kind of have that sense,
Hmm.
who have your creative inspirations been as a DP, as a developer of content? You're someone who has obviously like had to oversee departments and you understand everything from start to finish. But there's a difference sometimes between folks who just know how to do things and then folks who can do that and their stuff is really good and it's awesome to
Hmm.
watch. Technically, who are some of your creative sources of inspiration and how did you begin to really evolve and grow and find more confidence there as just a creative maker of art?
So when I was first starting out, actually, I didn't see a lot of women, like I had mentioned, but nowadays I am constantly inspired by so many creators that are on Instagram. And what's so cool too is with technology and social media just being like a core part of, Gen Z, seeing like how these young folks are literally creating in the 3D space at 20 years old, just starting way sooner than I was ever able to.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly inspired just by everyone on Instagram that I follow. I love movies. I feel like I'm inspired. I was greatly inspired this year by Sinners and a lot of the imagery and the colors um, that were seen in that movie. I also translated it to our Latino Heritage Month campaign. So a lot of times I find inspiration from movies, pop culture, but truly like Instagram is a space where I keep seeing everybody blow up and I'm like, and they're so young and I'm just like, wow, like this is so amazing.
Did you think, okay, I am however many years in, and I'm a senior producer with the 49ers? When did that start to become, wait, I can make a name for myself and find success above just that title and in more places? Because obviously now between your freelance work and then your brand partnerships, you've really branched out. Uh, where did that sort of start? And what's the biggest key you think to that success away from the 49ers, but still managing to balance, still kicking ass for the 49ers and finding time to do that as well as you do?
I think I first started to get a following and it was just something simple as posting some of my favorite shots from a game, my
Yeah.
cinematic shots that I loved, and pairing it honestly with a song that I really liked. And to be honest, people started to see that and I started to grow, but it wasn't until 3 years ago where I started to put my face in front of the camera, to be honest, where it was like, this is a real person. This is my story. This is where I've been. And I can't believe that I'm here now, but this is how I got there. And these are the opportunities that I have. That really, I think, in a way, exploded the community that I have now on Instagram and TikTok. And I think it's such a unique position to be in with this growing landscape of social media where I genuinely think people crave connection as opposed to just seeing the art, or the end product. But I think people ultimately, like I said at the very start of this, they love an underdog and they love to see someone that is similar to them creating these really cool projects for really cool brands or teams. So I think in all of that as well, Sony just became a partner of the NFL a year or 2 years ago. And just because my natural tie-in with cameras and tech and gear and sports, they had reached out to me to see if there was a potential to collab in that as well. And just with that partnership, especially with the 49ers, like a great example of everything that I love coming together was I was able to collab with the 49ers and Sony on multiple projects this year. One of them even being last year's Super Bowl with George Kittle getting ready to receive his award for Salute to Service at the Super Bowl last year. And that's just one of those things where it's super organic. And anytime anyone wants to branch into like the content creation space, I always give the advice where it's like, you might not make a lot of great things at first with your face in front of the camera. You might be nervous, but just start. You have to just start and you have to make it because there will be people out there that relate to you and will start to support you. So it's been interesting to navigate, but I absolutely love being in this hybrid position now.
What first pushed you over the edge to do that, to put your face on camera?
I think because I had a ton of people actually asking me in my comments when I was first growing, like, how did you get that job? Or how did you get to where you are today? And you know what? I just felt that like I said, I always wanted to be either the inspiration or the reason why someone maybe picks up a camera or starts to shoot and film football and believe that they can do it. So I said, let me tell you, I'm not a gatekeeper here. I will give you the answers. I'm an open book. You got to just ask the question and I'll try my best to deliver.
Um, what I feel like the full time job with the Niners and then what you're doing on the side. How do you balance it? You talked about your schedule, but you still
Yeah.
have to like think stuff up, and you still have to
Right.
like the stuff you do is really high quality. Do you
Thank
work with
you.
others? How does that kind of come to be, and how have you managed to stay sane during all of that?
Like I said, I think sometimes it's easy to look at someone's content and judge it for good or bad, but it is so hard to be a content creator, to be honest, because you're either pitching ideas or brands are reaching out to you. I'm my own legal person. I'm trying to keep track of all the documents. I'm also someone that I'm my own manager. I advocate for my prices. I have my own media kit. And then I'm the one that's filming and editing and coming up with the storyboards. It's a whole business that I have for myself. But also at the end of the day, the 49ers are my priority. So for me, it's a balance of what do I actually care about? Gear, tech, sports. Those are the brands that I really focus on to make high quality content, especially anything that has to do with being a creator. So SSDs, desks, monitors, all of that is so important because I
Yeah.
also get a lot of questions like, Serena, what gear do you use? And for me, I'm like, well, these are trusted brands that I use, and this ties naturally with X brand. So um, I'm very busy, and I think there might come a time, like we had mentioned before, where it's like, okay, what lane do I want to go in? But right now, I'm living in the chaos, and I'm having a great time.
My laptop is sitting on a branch desk, by the way. Not that you asked me to plug that at all, but I was like, I
There
saw
we
that video.
go.
I'm like,
Thank you, Branch.
I love Branch. It's
I
great,
love Branch.
and I love shooting on Sony. And it is
There
really
we go.
cool when that is an organic thing. Like you genuinely enjoy using these products; they make sense. So I
Yep.
think that's everyone's always hope for when these things come up. You ever thought about
Mhm.
hiring help? You ever thought about like bringing someone on to help you with these things?
So this year, I had actually the goal of trying to make as much money as I do at my full-time job. And I was 15K short.
Okay.
But saying that, I'm very proud of it because it was an absolutely insane year for me. But I did have to be like, okay, I need to hire out. I need a videographer. You know what? I'll still edit the pieces, but a lot of times the first thing that I do is now I try to hire a videographer. So Super Bowl week, I'm set with my content creators, with my videographers. I think for me, that's actually a really important aspect of just content creation in general is I'm always trying to bring people up with me and in spaces that I'm surprised I'm in this space. You're in this space and I'm going to pay you. So I really think like for me community is so important and I'm trying to honestly get everyone a little piece of what I'm making from a brand. So I work a lot with my friends and my producers to see if they're even available. And I'm just blessed that a lot of them are like, yes, I will absolutely collab and work on that project with you.
Have you learned? It appears to me like you've got really close relationships with Fred Warner and George Kittle and many of the players. Have you learned how to do any of this and balance a lot of things from them at all? Has there been any sense of picking up on, hey, you know, professional athletes, it's more than just what you do on the field. How
Right.
do I do the rest? Has that played into it at all for you?
Honestly, I think so. Fred and George are also our captains, and they're people that obviously are fantastic athletes, but they're even better people. And I
Yeah.
think I relate to and gravitate towards people that are very disciplined and dedicated to their art. So naturally, I think we mesh and tie in there. So and also they're just legendary athletes that people are going to remember for a very, very, very long time. So I think you're right. There's a part of that where it's like I want to help you build your guys' brand and or whatever you need from me. And I feel blessed that a lot of times that they'll they'll call or, or text or whatever and be like, hey, can you do this? And I'm like, yep, I'm there for you.
Uh, I want to talk about, what's next and some AI stuff, just because that's always an interesting part of our conversations that we have on the show. Prior to that, a couple more just on you and your career growth. I'm curious where your drive comes from. You are such a driven person. You have to be to do all that you're doing. Where did that originate, and what keeps it going?
I was raised by such strong women and men too. Shout out my dad. Love you, Dad. But I was raised by such strong women that paved the way for me. And I see them, and my mom, first generation, for lack of a better word, badass in the finance world, doing her own thing, also being a Latina in a space back in the day where you didn't see a lot of people that look like her in finance. And also coming home and making sure that we're fed, or that my grandma taking all of us to our practices, picking us up from school. Like it's really a village, especially in a Latino household. And just seeing how hard that they worked and sacrificed for their family, I feel like I owe it to them and even my ancestors to make a name for myself, because I'm always someone that's going to strive. I don't want to say prove, but to at least make my family happy and show that thank you for all the sacrifices that you did for me. Like I'm going to be a winner because of you guys and your work ethic. So I'm so grateful for my mom and grandma, my aunts and uncles and dad that really made me the person that I am today. My brother, shout out to him too.
I love that. And I think people love to say, what's your why? And that sounds like a pretty awesome why to me. Do you think about them a lot on tough days when you need that extra push?
100%. And it's so funny. And I laugh because my mom is such a Latino mom where she's my biggest supporter and harshest critic. I'm like, you're right, Mom. I need to do that better. But
what kind of criticism does she give you?
You could have said this a lot better, or why didn't you ask for more? I'm like, you're right. I need to advocate for myself. So she's an absolute boss, and I strive to be like her.
That comes from an awesome place of love. It's like you wouldn't have it any other way, because it's part of how you've gotten here.
Yes, they believe in you so much that they want, everything that they think that you deserve. And so it's just funny. Like I said, I love my family.
A couple questions I always love asking. Is there any advice that you've gotten or that you think about that you might give others that you feel like is underrated, that needs to be kind of talked about more for anyone who's trying to pave a creative career, whether it's in sports, whether it's with a camera or without? Is there any advice that you would give that someone else could take and run with that you don't hear enough of?
I think for me, and this is a twofold thing. So I 100% believe that you need to put in the work, right? Put in those 1,000 hours to be excellent at what you do. But I think an underrated piece of advice is to never let anyone put you in a box. A lot of times people reach out to me and they're like, Sarina, I want to be a videographer in the NFL. And I'm like, think bigger, be a DP, go be freelance. There's so much that a camera can give you and so many lanes that you can go in. I truly don't think that you just have to be one person. And a great example of that is moms that are working, also in the workforce. It's like, here's Diana, who's a director of this great company, and then she comes home and she's the best mom in the world. And I guess that's my inspo is my mom. So for me, it's don't let others put you in a box, because the sky is 100% not the limit.
What about advice that is overrated, that maybe you hear a lot of and you're like, I don't know, I'm not so sure about that one. Let's put that to the side. Do any of those exist for you?
I would say that's a tougher one, to be honest. I probably have to think about one. If there's something that comes like at the top of my head and I'm not really sure how to formulate this in the best way possible. But I think like an overrated piece of advice is to just follow the rules. And I get like in a professional setting, like absolutely there's truth to that.
Yeah.
But also don't be afraid to be so authentically you. And I think that that's what brands and businesses actually like. You don't have to follow this straight line. There's so many directions, and just if that makes sense. I don't think you have to be 100% staying the course.
I no, I love that. And I think people, when they find themselves at a crossroads, they have a it can feel more comfortable in a tough moment to be like, what should I do versus what do I think I should do? Like,
Hmm.
what would I do? What feels right for me?
Right.
Is there any like moment you encountered that put you in that position that kind of informs why you're sharing that piece of advice, maybe?
I mean, listen, in regards to what you just said, I kind of thought in regards to content creation, I was like, why not me? Technically you're right. Like maybe I should just focus and be, which I am, but solely
Yeah.
focus on football. But a part of me was like, I'm actually so much more than that too. And I love working with people in general. And because I put my face out there and my story, that now I have all these opportunities. And I'm genuinely so happy that that was a moment where I was like, I'm glad I didn't follow the rules or what maybe senior producer should be, or, that I just was myself. And
Yeah.
because of that, people were like, I love that. And you inspire me. So,
I love that too. I want to talk about where things are headed. Speaking of rules, we think we know
mhm,
what the rules are, and then it's like, hey, here is a new AI tool that can generate this video, or it can come up with this batch of ideas.
right.
It's a different thing for everybody. It's moving at
Yes.
this crazy pace.
Hmm.
And one of my favorite things about even bringing it up with different folks is just I don't want the same answer from everyone. I'm not going to get it. It's so
Hmm.
different based on everyone's interpretation. So maybe just like blanket question off the top. How do you feel
Hmm.
about it in general? When I even say AI, what comes to mind for you and with your work specifically?
Not gonna lie, I don't like AI because I totally think that a machine will never create the same results as a person with soul behind what they're doing. Do
Mm,
I think sometimes it looks cool? Yes. Do I understand that it might be more efficient to the flow of your workspace? Yes. But I am someone that's not a huge fan of AI.
yeah, I don't like it. I'm very much in the camp of like I wish it did not exist. I'd prefer that to be the case. I'm also
Hmm.
in the camp of like I don't know that I have a say, and eventually
Hmm.
how do I take kind of my approach to navigating it versus
Yeah.
being someone I see a lot of people, Serena, who it's like they are embracing being an AI artist. And I'm like, don't you feel deep down the contradiction there? Like, don't you notice that as you're saying it?
Yeah.
Could you see yourself like, how do you balance the need to like stay involved with where technology goes versus what you feel
Yeah.
deep down is the way you want to do things, maybe?
I also think that growth happens when we're most uncomfortable. So I understand that with the growing space of AI and just the future of technology, it's not going anywhere. So if you're staying stagnant, a lot of times you get left behind. So for me, I think there's definitely like a middle ground where it's like, okay, eventually, I can implement it in certain ways, but I
Yeah.
also want to look in the mirror and feel good about myself and be like, you know what? I stay true to who I am as a creator, and that's the most important. And I might have used a little bit of AI in this.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And people seem to hate when they find out that like something like a video was generated by like an AI platform. They're like, "Wait a second,
Yes.
red light." Is it talked about like especially like on the team side because you guys are
Mhm.
so like you said chaos. Like there's so much to do and there's so many things you could be
Yeah.
doing. Do you guys ever talk about like the possibility of involving it more, or does it seem like that's secondary to everything else you're focused on to cover all things 49ers?
You know what? I think at least in regards on the marketing side, creative side, it's we don't even really talk about it, to be honest, just because we have such great ideas already. And I
Yeah,
think in a way, because there's people behind these creative ideas, it's almost extra special when something comes to fruition. So for us on the marketing side, I would say we don't really use AI. A lot of times, maybe I can see people using like ChatGPT, especially on the content creator side, where it's like, hey, maybe help me schedule this out, or help me ideate how do I sound a little bit better, or whatever it is. Like I can see content creators probably using that a little bit more than I think marketing business side.
Yeah,
I
I
say
get
that
that.
tentatively because I guess you never really know.
You never know. And like, I appreciate you even answering the question because, like, I'm
Yeah.
sure there's just a lot of, you know, figuring it out as it kind of goes
Yeah.
on and evolves for itself. I'm also curious, like, you're in San Francisco, which seems to be like where all this is sort of like talked about 24/7. Is it that way, or do you feel like you can kind of get away from the tech talk sometimes?
It's honestly a blessing to work for a football team, because we provide something different to the Bay Area. But
Yeah.
I 100% know that all the tech companies around us, this is definitely a hot talking point. And I would
Uh,
probably even say that like our sales team and partnerships team, finance team probably delve in it a little bit more than we do on the creative side. It's
yeah,
just
for
because
sure.
we're in this area, we have to be well knowledge in it.
Makes complete sense. Where do you want to take things next with the 49ers, and where do you see team creative evolving to? It's been amazing to see what internal team staffs have been able to do over the past 10, 15 years. It used to be like, oh, NFL Films does that. Now it's like, oh, wow, the team is doing that at the
Mhm.
same, if not a better level at times. So, like, everyone always wants to keep growing and get bigger and better. How do you guys think about the evolution of what you can offer for your fans in such an amazing moment for the 49ers, which they're so good? They have so many revered players. How do you guys think about what's next?
You know, I can speak a lot on the international side where, like, you're absolutely right. We keep growing and growing and growing, especially with international games. There's so much opportunity to reach new markets and people, and bring them into the San Francisco 49ers family. So I think we're constantly thinking about how can we shape and change the culture through the lens of video and marketing. And ultimately, our goal is to bring in, making people feel as if they're part of our family, and then
Mm-hmm.
49ers fans in general. So there's so much more opportunity here, especially like on the international side here, the 49ers.
What's it meant to you to be able to be a driving force in that specific area?
You know what? It means when I look back at it, it means absolutely so much to be able to create content for people who look like me and they see themselves in the art that their favorite 49ers, accounts are posting.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times I find myself when I make a cultural video, for example, our Latino Heritage Month project, um, an LA news station, their Instagram, they had actually posted what we made. And they were like, look at what the 49ers are doing. And all those comments that I got were absolutely like so beautiful. They're like, I not even a Niner fan, but I support this. I want to be a
Yeah.
part of this. Like, and to me, that means everything because at the end of the day, I'm trying to make connections. And to be able to connect with everywhere around the world through the art that I'm making has meant so much. And I think early in my career, it was more about the executing it and doing it. And now I get to look back at my portfolio and see and remember the comments that I receive, especially from women and girls that are just like, my daughter wants to pick up a camera now. Those comments make me feel so special because at the end of the day, that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to make an impact, through the art that I'm making, but also for people that look like me.
Do you feel like in is it really 10 years since you joined the Niners, or is it
This is the
when's the
end of my 10th
anniversary?
season.
Let's
It
go.
was today, yeah. Or
It was
technically
today?
this season. It was this
Okay.
season. This
Got it.
season.
Got it. Got it. In 10 years, how do you feel like how you interact with a 49ers fan through your work has evolved?
Hmm.
I don't know if that's a sensible question, but like when you first come in, you're just trying to figure everything out. And now with a
Right.
decade under your belt, how do you
Hmm.
think about how you interact with a fan, whether it's someone who loves the Niners or someone who is just potentially brand new?
You know what? It's actually surreal when I walk out of the tunnel sometimes and I hear people like shout my name. Not that I ever feel like a player or anything, but there are
Yeah,
people, women, like waiting for the players to walk out and they'll shout my name and be like, I follow you. Your content's so great.
that is awesome.
And that moment is 100% surreal. And it also brings me back to remembering, I think, a decade of working in this industry. I'm not saying that I get used to it. There are moments that still give, me like the pricklies. But I remember where it's like, yeah, a lot of these people, like maybe it's their first time at a game, they don't get to see this, and I feel their excitement, and that fuels me as well to make sure that I'm doing the best job that I can do at providing art for them to watch. So I definitely appreciate my interactions with fans, especially on game days.
Couple more questions, and then I'm sure you got plenty to do, so I'll let you go. But the thought just popped up in my head, like a lot of creative people either have been told or feel like they need to like spend 2 years one place, pump the resume out, move on, get hired somewhere else, and try to work their way up like at different places. And you've managed to flourish and be a trailblazer at one place. Do you think that's unique to you, or would you advise folks to, I don't know, consider trying to invest in a place and see what comes from that rather than look with the grass is always greener somewhere else mentality? I don't know if that's a fair question to ask, but I'm curious.
Yeah, that is such a good question. And because you do get different kinds of people, in this industry, where I have people that are like, yeah, I was only at a place for 2 years and I left. And I think at the end of the day, it's being honest with yourself and being like, what do I want for myself in this professional space? Is it climbing the corporate ladder? Okay, I can see you jumping from job to job, and reaching, and that's your goal, and that's totally fine. I think I bring a unique perspective where it was more like I am investing myself and my talents in this place, and vice versa, they invest in me and what I can bring to the table. So for me, it wasn't necessarily about climbing the corporate ladder when I started. It was about proving that I deserved a seat at the table, and then making that impact and providing art that was in English and in Spanish so that everyone can feel a part of our family. So that fuels me, it fuels me to feel like that I have built something, that I have been a part of the history of the documentation of the San Francisco 49ers. So when I look back, when it's all said and done, I have this time period in my life where I can be like, yeah, your mom was on the sidelines and she was filming these legends, George Kittle, Fred Warner, Brock Purdy. And then she also built this. And now we can see where it is now, and I have a small part in shaping that, and I just feel incredibly blessed.
Do you think about like family life in that sense as some like far off thing, or is it something that like, because I don't know, like everyone thinks about it in different terms with their career. How do you think about that with your career?
Yeah, I'll be very candid and honest. I feel like it's hard for women in sports, especially with the job that I do that is so physical. There are times where I get a little bit choked up, where I think, and I know I'm going to be so blessed if this happens to me, when it's time to have a child and I have to put that camera down and put my projects down and, shift my life and my focus towards my family. And I think, knowing me and how driven I am, I'm going to find a way to blend work and my family, because that's just the person that I am, and I'm passionate about what I do. But yeah, I think that's something that women have to think when they're in the sports industry or any industry in general, where it's like, especially when it's physical, like,
Yeah.
wow, I might have to one day, put this down and a new dream will start.
I appreciate you answering that question. My wife and I think about it. She's full-time in her career too. And so it's something that a lot of people, they have on their mind. And I'm sure anyone listening to this appreciates that, you have a perspective that you shared with us. So thank you. My last question, Sarina, is just stepping back, state of the industry in terms of where we're at with team sports and content, or freelancing and content. Do you have any thoughts that you'd like to share that we haven't gone over so far or talked about yet?
It's been so crazy to see a decade of just social media growing, and it's only going to get bigger, especially honestly in the podcast space. There's so
Yeah.
many new opportunities in the international space, like I had mentioned. So I think teams are just going to keep getting bigger and bigger. Equipment is going to get better. I feel like kids out of college are better and better and better the more the years go on, because they're just they wake up and they're like, oh, maybe I'm gonna play with Instagram or CapCut. They're so talented
It's
in the
just
3D
baked in.
space, like I had mentioned. Yeah. So there's so much room for growth, especially in the sports industry as a creative. But also don't be afraid to freelance. And if you truly love to film, there's so many avenues that you can go. And of course, sports might be in there for you.
Sarina Soriano, thank you so much for doing this, for sharing your drive, your passion, posting your work, and for being such a great example. I mean that genuinely. Like, it's really cool to see what you've done, and I think a lot of people, even those you can't possibly count, are grateful for the work that you do. So appreciate the time, and please give her a follow on Instagram, on any channel that you can see a Sarina Soriano on, as well as all things 49ers. Sarina, thanks again for coming on.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you for your time.